All right. Good evening, everybody. It is 7:30 East Coast time. We're going to get started. So that way we are ready to go with our present. Oh, so we're ready to go when our presenter comes on board. Have you started the Zoom? Oh, I just thought it was a camera. Okay. So I want to make sure Zoom was going. All right. If everybody would stand, we'll face the flag and say the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, real quick, I just want to go around and announce or introduce the board of directors. My name is John Knott. My call sign is N4JTK. I am the president of Orlando Amateur Radio Club. Michael Cawley, W4ORL. He is the vice president of Orlando Amateur Radio Club and the general chairman of Hamcation. Anna is not with us tonight. She usually joins by Zoom, but she's not with us tonight. And then Bob Nacero, W4KBW. He's our secretary. James Dool, you here? Okay. James is not here. N0XIA. Ed Thralls. Make sure I get his call sign right. NE4H, not N4EH. Frank Gurkis is not with us tonight. Bob Cumming is behind me here. W2BZY. He's one of our directors. Frank Tagalani is not here tonight. He's not here yet. Okay. KD4EZW. He's also one of our directors. And Christy Moore, call sign KN4MDM, and she is also one of our directors. So please, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything you want to talk to us about, please feel free at any time to corner us. Just try not to beat us up too bad so we can continue serving you as the board of directors for the club. Is there any guest here tonight? Anybody that's first time attending, not a member of the club? Right. Let me come around to you. I just want to have you introduce yourself.
John Mazzata. I just took my technician's exam at 5:30 and I passed.
Congratulations. Anybody else? And you joined us tonight too? Did you do the paperwork to? Yeah, okay. Welcome aboard. Trying to get in the camera shot here. All right. Couple of things I did. Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. Test sessions. The rest of the results.
Okay, some new hams tonight. John was one of them. He best technician. We had one gal, May Marquez. She went from 0 to hero tonight. No technician, all the way up to extra. So it was a good one tonight. And we had one person took his upgrade to general, tried the extra, didn't pass that, and one other person took the extra and passed it. And one guy tried 2 times, didn't pass the tech, but we had a good session.
Excellent. Congratulations, everybody that passed. And can't wait to hear you guys on the air. A couple other things I just want to go over tonight. I got some updates more than anything for you tonight. Nothing drastically new. And then mostly because we spent the weekend at Melbourne for the Melbourne Ham Fest and just didn't have a whole lot of time to get prepared. First, I want to mention about the ARIS contact. Our first month that we were supposed to sit there and go to Sally Ride Elementary School, we had to cancel it because of Hurricane Milton. Milton had other plans, and Milton sat there and kind of ruled. So we weren't able to do it the first month. We did go this past month of October, and Michael went on Tuesday with some volunteers. A couple of you guys were in the room. I know Christy and Bill were there. A couple of you guys are probably in the room on Tuesday. I wasn't there. I had to work that day. Had a really good session with 3 of the classes. Each class we have with the students is about 45 minutes in length. And there was some concern about how much time we had and how fast or how slow it was going to go. And I'll be honest with you, 45 minutes was not even quite enough. It goes by very, very fast when you're dealing with a bunch of elementary school kids asking questions and stuff. I was there on Thursday. I was off on Thursday. I was able to go. We did the fifth, second, and kindergarten classes and stuff. And even the kindergartners stayed engaged with it. I was a little impressed. They questions. Oh my gosh. We suddenly became experts and astronauts and stuff, and we had no idea what we were talking about. And I tell you, to be honest, at times we kind of winged it. Okay. They were impressed. They liked the answers. They didn't care. They were like, wow, they know everything and stuff. There was questions about amateur radio, obviously. We had a fun fourth grader or fifth grader. Fourth grader. I don't remember. He was in fourth or fifth grade. I can't remember. Sat in front of the class. We're up there. Every single thing we said, I got a fun fact for you. And I hate to say, his fun facts were fact. Okay. Smart kid, very smart kid, very impressive. But it was a lot of fun. 45 minutes before you know it was over with, and it was time for them to go back to the regular class. And then we took probably sometimes a half-hour break, sometimes an hour and a half break, depending on what the schedule was. And they came, the next class came in, and they were pretty impressive, I have to admit. A lot of fun. Do it all over again coming up later this month in about 2 weeks. We'll have 2 sessions again, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday. Same students. We'll go over a little more detail about amateur radio. Again, we only have 45 minutes, so you can't get in too depth of a thing. The neat thing about on Tuesday is Orange County Public Schools has selected the 4th grade class on Tuesday to sit there and do a hands-on project with amateur radio. So they are going to do their first antenna build with the help of Jim. Jim's been putting together some antennas for satellite contacts, all right, using wood and measuring tape, the metal measuring tape. They're going to do a little bit of the final part of the assembly. Jim's actually taking care of most of the assembly of it. They're going to do the final parts of it, and it's all going to be videotaped by Orange County Public Schools for a promotional video to advertise about amateur radio and what's going to happen in December with our contact with the ISS. So it's and that is going to go out, if I'm understanding correctly, chain wide, or if you will, district wide, with all the schools in Orange County. So that'll be very interesting to see what type of response we get from that. The rest of the classes will do what we've been doing is going over amateur radio, answering questions and things like that. They stayed really engaged. It's really phenomenal what these kids do and stuff. Then that's Tuesday and Thursday. And then on Friday, we're actually having a real astronaut come to the school. Nicole Stout will be there. She has spent time on the ISS. She is going to be spending about an hour and a half with the entire student body. About a half hour with the younger kids, the kindergarten, first and second graders, and about 45 minutes to 50 minutes with the older ones, the third, fourth, and fifth graders and stuff. And that should be very, very interesting. And then next month, whenever that date is, when we find out, we'll make sure everybody knows, we'll be doing the contact with the ISS. Fingers crossed. First, no equipment failures. Secondly, weather's good. There's only so much that we can control. So in trying to explain to everybody that you have about 8 minutes to make contact with the ISS and ask as many questions as the kids can get up there and ask that question, it'll be a feat to undertake. So looking forward to it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I have a ton of pictures. I mean, I was going to share some tonight, but I just didn't have a chance to get them set. up to put them on a quick slideshow. But I will do that here soon, along with more pictures. The teacher, she took at least 150 pictures on her phone, and she sent every single one of them to me on my phone. Okay, I have a ton of them. I'm probably going to empty some of them out because I got so many of them and stuff. But some of them do have faces where, like, when she was trying to take pictures from the back of the class or the side of the class, the kids turn suddenly, they got their face in the picture. So those we're going to take out for their safety and their protection. We only use the ones that has the back of their heads and stuff, which there's a ton of those and stuff. So we have lots of pictures to share. So hopefully next month, or I'm sorry, January, I'll probably have a slideshow real quick on those. Any questions on ARIS? We probably could use. I don't need anybody really for this month, but I'm thinking we need a couple more people for December when we do the contact. So if you are interested and you have not already signed up, you need to send me an email immediately, like today or tonight, tomorrow, or Friday, because there's a little bit of stuff that you have to do in order to be able to go onto school property. You have to do a background check. Okay. Once you do the background check, then they're going to send you a link of a video that you have to watch. Once you watch that video, then your account or your volunteer account is now active and you can go on school property. Until that's done, you can't go on school property. Okay. So if you're interested, please send me an email. Yes. We're looking at, I think it was the second Monday or second week. So, to give you a better idea, if we pick the second week of December, so we're looking at the 9th through the 13th. Then on the second, Monday the 2nd, we should have an email saying, all right, these are your options for that week. What days do you want, or what day do you want? We're going to shoot for probably a Tuesday or Wednesday if possible. So that way we have a chance to get everything set up the day before and test it, and then be ready to roll the next day. So we're looking for it, because what's going to happen is in the cafetorium, because that's what they call these things now, not cafeterias, not auditoriums, or cafetoriums. 200 of the 400 students can be in the cafeteria at one time. Okay. And that's where the radio setup will be, monitors, and that type of stuff, all the audio. The rest of the students are going to be in their classrooms watching a live feed from the cafetorium. The other plan is, if this works out, hopefully, is that every student in Orange County will also see the live stream by Orange County Public Schools. Okay. And there's also rumor, once we get all the details, they're also going to live stream to every Orange County Public Library that same day. Not to mention, on top of that, it's all going to go across ARIS YouTube channel and stuff. So everybody can see it outside of the school board, school system and stuff. All the filming, all the video will be done by Orange County Public Schools. And then everything else will be done, by ARIS and Orange County Public Schools and stuff. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But with 200 students, if we can get 20 volunteers there, that's about 10 students per person. And it helps keep it down a little bit so we can answer those questions that they might have without being overwhelmed, one person being overwhelmed and stuff. So if you have not signed up, send me an email. I will sit there and get you the information so you can get the background check done, all that type of stuff. Easy way to do it, president@oarc.org, or my initial, first initial J, last name not @oarc.org. I'll get it either way. All right. Christmas party. Tonight is the last chance that you're going to be able to purchase tickets and take them home with you. Okay. So if you have not gotten your Christmas party tickets, see Christy over on the side there. She has them there now. And where are we up to now? 106 attendees. Okay. Which is great. Love love having big crowds. I think the most we had was a couple years ago, 125, something like that. 120 something. So, and again, it's going to be Saturday, December the 7th at 6 o'clock is when the doors will open at the Knights of Columbus in East Orange County, which is right off of 436 and 50. Address, all that stuff is on the website. You can also purchase your tickets online through the website, except the tickets will not get mailed to you. You'll get a receipt. We'll have the tickets for you when you arrive. We'll hand you your tickets at that point on the night of the event. Okay. We are not selling tickets at the door because all the information has to be given to the caterer in advance. So we have to make sure we have enough food for everybody. Okay. 2J's is the caterer. There's going to be turkey, ham, and usually like a brisket or some sort, all the fixings to go with it, salad. And then we have a huge, usually 3 tables of desserts where usually we have some stuff that's usually made by members. Bring it in, all that's coordinated through Christy. So that way we have like a variety of things and not everybody's bringing pumpkin pies that night and stuff. Nothing wrong with pumpkin pies, but people want varieties. We also collect toys for tots. So if you can bring a small unwrapped toys for tots, it'd be greatly appreciated. We do our award ceremony where we recognize individuals in the organization that have gone above and beyond during the year, this past year. And it's always a surprise to those individuals. We also award out some life memberships, usually at the Christmas party. And then afterwards, we have our door prize drawings, which is usually there's 2 choices of tickets when you walk in. If you haven't been there before, you have your amateur radio ticket. Then you also have your non-ham radio ticket for anybody that wants a non-ham radio prize. Okay. Usually for the wives or spouses and stuff like that. So, and then we also, at the very last, we give away or do door prizes, the centerpieces that are usually created every year. So that almost everybody goes home with something. Okay. It's a full night. Starts at 6. Usually you get done around 9:30ish and stuff. There is a cash bar. So if you want a adult beverage, bottled water and soda is paid for by the club. If you want adult beverage, there is usually a bar right there that they'll more than happy to serve what you want and stuff. So, and if you usually it's a little bit more of the alcohol and a little less of the mixers and stuff. They're usually pretty good strong drinks. Okay. All right, upcoming meetings. I just want to remind everybody that next month we don't have a meeting. All right. However, there is going to be a test session in this room. And you can still come and upgrade or anybody wants to get a license. We do our Christmas party on the 7th in January. A reminder, January 1st is our normal meeting night. January 1st, the facility is closed. Okay. We will have our regular meeting on January the 8th in this room at 7:30. However, we won't be able to have access to the room to about 6:30 because there's another event in here prior to us. Okay. So once they're out, they get everything set up, then we can come in. The test session in January will actually be in the craft room on the other side of the building. So if you're coming here for a test session, we'll have some people stage at the door, letting you know where to go for the test session. Then in February, again, we don't have a meeting because of Hamcation. It falls the week of Hamcation. We've tried that a couple of times after I became president. It's a very, very, very long day for me. And we've now opted to do a kit build with Joe Eisenberg on Wednesday night. More information will go out here shortly about that as soon as we get what type of kit he has chosen to build that night. It doesn't cost you anything. There is usually a limited supply of kits, but anybody can come and watch and learn. That's not a problem. So with that, I just want to remind everybody about those dates. And Joe Eisenberg, if you don't know him, K0NAB, he's been in CQ magazine. He was one of their kit build editors. And now he's in another magazine now I forget the name of it. Some type of radio monitoring times or something like that. All right, Michael, updates. Hamcation tickets are on sale on the website now. You can purchase them now. We normally would have had some tonight. Sorry, I forgot to bring some. Oh, you do have some? I'm sorry. If you want some, we'll get them over there. So during the break, you can purchase them and stuff. They are $20. The tickets are good for all 3 days. But take a little thunder away from Michael. If you volunteer for at least 4 hours, you're going to get a free ticket. So you don't have to buy one if you don't want to.
All right, real quick, Hamcation. Couple things. First, I want to thank everybody that volunteered to either go to Melbourne Hamfest this past weekend with us or went to the Shriners tailgate. Fred and I think Bill was there also with you, so thank them for going there. At Melbourne, we had myself, John, Bob C, Bobbin, Christy, Bill, and Jeremy went there. Not knowing how busy it was I thought it was going to be a little slow. The show itself was down due to them moving it because of Hurricane Milton and also Stone Mountain going on the same weekend, and then the Shriners going on the same weekend. A lot of vendors were not there. Vendor area was a lot of empty tables. Even the attendance was down a little bit. But shocking to me, we did our best ticket sales we ever have at a Hamfest ever. So our record ticket sales was actually last year in Tampa, where we sold 97 tickets, not including everything else, RV, tailgate, swaps. For Melbourne this past Friday and Saturday, we sold 119 tickets. So, which was a record for shows. So I'm hoping that come Tampa, we break that record. So, but thank everybody come out. There was a lot of people come, asked us about the show. So it was good for us. Also, John mentioned it. Please volunteer. We need volunteers, need lots of volunteers. Ticket sales has been going good online. Even at the shows has been going good. The ones that we have sold at Dayton, Huntsville, now this one. So please volunteer. We need volunteers. And if you want to step up a little further and volunteer a little more, I am in need of IT chairman to help Mike out on the IT committee. He's the assistant chair. I also need several assistant chairmen, tailgate. I need another security assistant chair. I need talking assistant chair, logistics assistant chair. So I need a lot of assistant chairs. All this info was in the newsletter. So if you received the newsletter, you can read it or go on the website under Club Tech and you can download the current edition of the newsletter. And all that info is in there. But if you have questions about volunteering, please see me during the break. I'll be here. That's all I have.
All right. All right. Before we go around to the board members, real quick, just to make sure if they had any updates. We have door prizes up here. There is a grounding and bonding book by Ward Silver. All right, the second edition, which is excellent reading. Everybody needs power poles, so you got power poles. All right. And how many of you guys do POTA? POTA. You know, Parks on the Air. No? Here's a good little grounding thing for Parks on the Air. Okay. So you can ground your radio while you're doing Parks on the Air and stuff. So those will be the door prizes this evening. Make sure you got your ticket. We'll do that at the end of the meeting. All right. Let me go around real quick to everybody. Michael, did you have anything else? All right. Anna is online. Anna, did you have anything?
No, I'm good. Just make sure you buy your tickets for the Christmas party.
That's right. Bobbin? Bob C?
At Melbourne, we were selling tickets, and there's one time all of us were standing up selling tickets, and Christy was entering them in the credit card machine, and she couldn't keep up with us. We were selling tickets so fast out there.
They came in rushes. That's what it was. Like, since there wasn't a whole lot of other things there to buy, I guess everybody make sure they bought their tickets. Ed, Christy. Okay. Bob, if you want to start grabbing the stuff, we're ready to roll on that. We're going to do our break here in just a second, but before we break, so Bobbin has a chance to get everything out, QRP Low Power Fund is going to be the presentation tonight. And it's by John Mead, W2 X-Ray Sierra. He will be coming online. If he's not already online, I don't see him online yet. So he should be coming up online here shortly. And we'll have that presentation. I will clue you in on a real quick secret. Ed has been busy getting presentations lined up for 2025. How many of you guys know a guy by the name of John Kruk? Okay. So next month, I'm sorry, I keep saying next month, next meeting in January, which is going to be January the 8th. Don't go by my dates on my own notes. January the 8th, John Crook, November 9, Uniform Papa Charlie, the Yezu sales manager, national sales manager, will be joining us by Zoom to go over Yezu new product presentation, the new items that are coming out from Yezu. Not a lot of talk about that. So it might be a good presentation for you guys to come and watch and be a part of. Hopefully, there'll be some new items that maybe will be available at Hamcation. So nothing like getting a new radio to go home with. And then I think that's pretty much all the updates I have for this evening. They're getting everything done. Does anybody have any questions? All right. One last thing I have is name tags. Name badges have been ordered. Okay. It does sometimes take a little longer than normal because one, we also get a little grouping of name tags together before we send them. And the other thing is the gentleman who makes them, Sign Man, travels Hamfest to Hamfest. He does not always have those blanks in stock with him on the road. He usually has them back at his house. So whenever we send him an order, he gets them out to us pretty quick. Everything's been ordered. So if you had one in the past couple of months, it will be here. We should have it by the Christmas party, and we'll have them at the Christmas party. But if not, no later than the January meeting. Okay. Just as long as he's got a chance to get them made. Anybody else? We are working on it. We have a meeting with Gold Medal Ideas here soon to go over ideas of what to for merchandise, Hamcation merchandise. And what's nice about with them is we don't have to buy it all, store it, and bring it to Hamcation to sell it. They'll actually have a website. You can order it. You can have it shipped to you if you prefer, or you can have it free, shipping free when you come pick it up at Hamcation and stuff. So looking at t-shirts, some different types of shirts, I think some hats, a couple different things. So maybe even some mugs and stuff like that too. So that should, we'll have more of that probably definitely in the newsletter when it goes out. We'll have it in the newsletter, but major announcement probably in January. So get your orders in so they have time to get them, get it done. All right, you guys ready? All right, we're good. So don't forget, if you want tickets, Michael's going to bring the tickets over there to the side there. Anybody want Hamcation tickets? And we'll be coming back here at about 10 minutes. I got 8:10.
Can you hear me, John?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, I can't hear you, but is your brother going to be able to join us?
He said he would. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, I see him. Okay,
Yep,
good.
there he
enough.
is.
Yep. I'm Ed Thralls. Good to see you, and thank you very much. I'll introduce you in a minute.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, John. What's up? Did you get my message about not having a phone?
Yes.
It's a lot of fun.
Take the time to be relaxing.
I am. At least I got my big TV.
That's what ham radio is for.
All right, we got 1 minute, guys. 1 minute, we're going to get started. So grab a cup of coffee, grab a donut, have a seat.
How about a cup of water? Who are we talking to?
The OARC, Orlando.
Who's the guy that was just talking to us? That's the media manager?
Yes.
All right, everybody, it's about 9:11. We're going to get started. So if you would have a seat, grab a cup of coffee, a donut,
9/11?
keep your doctors happy. Keep your doctors in business. All right, Ed, you ready? Don't forget, after the presentation, we'll do our drawing. So if you haven't got your ticket, make sure you get your ticket.
Anyway, good evening to all of you. I'm going to turn off one of the lights so the presenter can see the audience. That may help. But last time, I guess we put too many lights out. We couldn't see.
All right, guys, one meeting, please.
Okay, can you hear me in the back of the room? All right. John Mead, W2XS, has started ham radio in the mid 60s as WB2SLI. And I guess he's up on the East Coast, quite a bit north of us right now. The QRP bug hit him when Heathkit came out with the HW8, and that was in the late 70s. Since that time, he's used many QRP rigs out there, including Tentec, Small Wonders Labs, MFJ, Oak Hills Research, Northern California QRP Club, and LA Craft. There have been many successful outings with the Long Island QRP Club, with QSOs far and wide with simple but effective equipment and antennas. His career has been in electronics manufacturing industry, as well as teaching electrical technology at a local community college. He is with us tonight to share his presentation of QRP Low Power Fun. Thank you, John, for being willing to talk to us about this topic.
You're welcome. Looks like a nice group there. Hope you can hear me okay. So I'm going to share my screen. And this is a presentation I've made for a bunch of years now with Ham Radio University. And just trying to move things around here. So I am not a QRP expert by any means, but I've been doing this since the 80s. And it's so much fun. It's just hard to define how much fun this is, either at home or somewhere, out in a park. And I have a lot of slides. I'll have to go very quickly on some slides because I've I'm trying to keep to the 40 minutes as best as possible. One thing I'd like to say about QRP operation is if you can put up the best antenna possible, that's always the best case. And here's the solar cycle we're entering, cycle 25. It's going to peak July 2025. So it's a real good time for QRP. I just did this today. This is the solar cycle history since 1800, believe it or not. And over here, this big, nice peak spot here is 1957. Little before my time. I started in 65. So this is my 6th solar cycle in my ham career. But this one must have been nice to operate back in 57. And QRP is not new. I once was in the ARRL article archives for QST, and I looked up QRP, and an article from 1927 came up. So this has been been around a long time. And one thing I've learned in doing these presentations is I always go over time, which I'm going to try not to do today, but I used to never be able to get to the antenna section. So I'm putting that first. And I'm just going to come up with a couple of recommended antennas that you might want to try to use when you QRP. Again, the antenna is a very important part. You're taking your measly little 5 watts. You want to transmit a signal as far and wide as possible. So you need something that's efficient. And the first efficient antenna here is the end-fed half wave. This is a really popular antenna these days. And you use something called a 49-to-1 matching transformer. I'm going to go over these as we get to them in the next couple of pages. But again, these are some recommendations and successful antennas that people have used. So let's start with the end-fed half wave. And this is a great antenna. Even a dipole is a great antenna, and this works the same way as a dipole, except you feed it at the end, not at the middle. When you feed it in the middle, you can match pretty much 50 ohm transmission line. When you feed it at the end, you have to match something around 2,500 ohms. It's high impedance. And that's what this little 49-to-1 transformer does. It converts the end of the antenna, very high impedance, down to 50 ohms. So when you use a 50 ohm coaxial cable, the BNC cable, everything is matched. You do not need the tuner in the rig. And there's no loss in the coax to speak of because everything's matched to 50 ohms. All you need is a support pole to raise the antenna. You could use a branch or a limb or something, an insulator, some rope or twine, and a ground stake, and you have the antenna. It's inexpensive, works very well. And up here I say, see the handout for more information. The handout is something that I had to put together. I had so many slides that, my presentation was like 200 slides. And of course, that's way too much. So I put all the antenna construction details in something called a handout. I don't have it tonight. You can get a copy from either the Ham Radio University website or look up my call on qrz.com and you can download the handout. And it gives you more information about, in this case, the end-fed half wave. There's another antenna that is kind of popular. It's the end-fed antenna, but it's not a half-wave wire. And you use a 9-to-1 transformer with this. Same thing, you only need one support in the middle. But there's a slight difference with this one. You do need an antenna tuner in the rig now. And the BNC cable
Is that the key
is no
too?
longer matched to
Yeah,
50 ohms.
that's the key too.
I'm sorry? Did you say something, Paul?
Uh,
Hello?
We don't
You
have.
do need a tuner.
No, we're okay.
You
Go
do
ahead.
need a counterpoise. But it works. You can work multiple bands with it, just that there's some loss in the cable now. Here's one that's offered by EARCHI, Emergency Amateur Radio Club. They used to sell this as a kit. And here are the recommended lengths for wires that you use with this kind of system. 29 feet, 35.5, 4158, etc. That'll provide reasonable matching with the 9-to-1 transformer to a basic internal antenna tuner. But here's my favorite antenna. It's just a simple 33-foot on either side piece of wire wound up in a laundry reel, a camping laundry reel, with some rope and another laundry reel, and either ladder line for feed line or twin lead. I have one made out of 300 ohm twin lead, which is very, very difficult to find anymore. But this thing works great, and it's multi-band. The only disadvantage, I guess, is even though it works all bands, when you're using it at the halfway frequency, it's a dipole, which gives you the bidirectional pattern shown in this little diagram. When you use it on the upper bands, you get all these lobes that show up. So there are some directions you're not going to squirt a signal into. The other directions, you're going to squirt a very powerful signal. So that's the disadvantage. You're going to have some nulls with this type of an antenna, but it works very well for, QRP work. I definitely think this is my favorite. This guy, WV0H, came up with an antenna that uses these chalk line reels, and he winds the wire on that. It goes through a little insulator at the top of a pole and comes right down to the little connector here. So there's no feed line. And I guess as long as the wind is not blowing too hard, this results in a very good low loss system. And you'll get real luck with this thing, real good luck. Then we have the magnetic loop. This is a small antenna. It's not the world's most efficient antenna, but people say they make a lot of contacts with it. And they range in price from this one that's from an article in CQ magazine, $35 they said it would cost. Build your own loop. W4OP, Alex loop, MFJ. Of course, MFJ is no longer with us, but you can find those on the used market. Here's another one. I like this one, the HG3QRO8. It handles 1,500 watts. And it costs $3,000 too. But, if you're in a small location, you need an antenna, you want to run high power, you'll spend the money for something like this. Then we have these little portable loaded whips. This is from Elecraft. This is called the AX1. They also make the AX2. And these are little 4-foot whips on top of a bunch of loading coils. And it's typically resonant around 20 meters. But because it's so short, a 20-meter quarter wave antenna wants to be 16 or 17 feet long, and this is only 4. So it's not as efficient as a dipole or a quarter wave antenna, but it works. Not as well, but you can make some QSOs with it. Here's a picture I love to look at. You can just see signals hitting that thing. Top of a nice mountain. So here's where I have to go really quickly to make some time. These are pictures of people out in the field somewhere, including me there. Very cold winter day. But this is the joy of QRP, I think. And I'm going to skim over these. If you want, you can download this whole presentation from Ham Radio University or my QRZ page, and then look at it when you have more time. But some of these pictures are just amazing. W1PID, he used to go out on these trips almost daily during the summer and fall and write about his how many QSOs he made. So it was almost like a daily thing for a while. You can go visit him on w1pid.com. Here's a beautiful picture of W6PNG's QRP outing. Amazing mountain view. KD8ZM uses Velcro tape to hold things to a clipboard. You can see the little mountain topper down here and all kinds of nice things. Here's another guy out with his dog, QRPing in the woods. Here's the guy nice and comfortable by the side of the lake over here and by the side of the river over here. Again, these are pictures of people out doing their thing. Some of them are breathtaking. Here's a guy in the desert. Here's a guy down by you somewhere QRPing with his friends around there, 3 little cranes or whatever they are, egrets. This guy, K2EAG, is a famous POTA guy. POTA is the big word these days, Parks on the Air. This guy takes this trailer all over the country and, spends weeks out on the road making contacts. Again, you can see all this on his QRZ page. K2WGM in the snow, which we have up here. You don't have that anymore down there. Another guy in the west somewhere. Here's somebody in Canada having a nice QRP outing. That's a beautiful picture. Another picture, beautiful scenery. Here's a guy on his boat. K1EY with his battery pack and an Elecraft KX2, enjoying himself. G0LLY. I like these little carts that the guy made and wheels around to different places. K80K, beautiful place to go. Here's W7EE, amazing mountaintop views. He's got his little Elecraft K1 there. Looks like it's tuned to 14.060, the QRP frequency. WA4CHQ with his QRP setup. AE5X, a very famous guy, writes up all kinds of things. He's got a blog. This is his bicycle mobile setup. WI2X, this is amazing. He's documented many, many different QRP outings. If you go to QRZ.com and look him up, you'll see all these pictures plus many, many more. This guy makes me feel ill every time I see that. But he's out. This another guy near the edge of the cliff. Another guy on the beach or in the mountains somewhere. Another guy, and here K4SWL, very famous blogger, QRP reviewer. If you go to his QRP.com website, You can spend hours and hours reading everything he has there. But here's his little KX2 setup. Here's that little AX1 whip, 4-foot whip. And he's got his little paddle here, notebook. A fun day out. Here's a guy, K3WWP. When I last did this slide in December of 2022, only 2 years ago, he had made one QSO per day, every day, for 10,000 days. That's 29 years. So every day for 29 years, he made a QSO. I worked him in 2021. I was number 9,994. Worked him in December 22, was 10,365. And he's still on the air. That's amazing. You can use QRP at home. Here's my home station. A couple of Elecraft rigs. And I have some switches here. An old printer switch I turned into a QRP selection switch. I wrote about it. It's in the handbook, handout. I thought it was going to be a tremendously popular article, but slightly disappointed, I guess. But it is there. Okay, now I'm going to get into Tentec and general QRP history. First company is Tentec. They offered the PowerMite series back in 1969, the first company to ever offer commercial QRP stuff, as far as I could tell. And they offered these modules. You could build the modules and make your own little rig, or you could buy this PM1. They also had the PM2 and the PM3. First basic portable rig from a commercial outfit. So they deserve a lot of credit for that. Then they came out with this rig called the Argonaut. Excuse me. The Argonaut went through a whole bunch of phases. The original was the 505. This was an amazingly sensitive, fun little portable radio. I had one of these for many years. And they just kept improving these things. The 509 came out, which improved the transmitter. Over on the 505, when you peaked up the receiver, it also peaked up the transmitter. And that was kind of hard to keep the receiver and the transmitter peak at the same spot. So they improved that. They made a broadband transmitter in the 509. Then they went to the 515. They improved 10 meters. It was a 4-switch position on 10 meters. Then the synthesized Argonaut 2 over here. Then the Argo 556, which is the same as the Scout. They had plug-in modules in this thing. I see these going for hundreds of dollars now, and hundreds of dollars for the modules themselves. Then they went to the Argonaut 5, then the Argonaut 6. And then they had some trouble. They sold to a new owner, and they're still not open for ham radio business. Hopefully they'll come back someday. They also made something called the Argosy, which I had at one time, and this was a real fun rig. Switch on the back, you could select 5 watts or 50 watts. They had the Century 22, which was 20 watts, direct conversion receiver. And then the Rebel open source, which was very popular at the time. Then they still wanted to maintain a QRP presence. They started importing this R4020. This was made by a Chinese company, which eventually became UKITS. And it's a fun little rig, but they weren't making their own rigs at that time, by that time. And here's the 13XX, the 1320, 1340, 1380. monoband little kits. They had some problems with instabilities in there. But they only drew 35 milliamps receive current, so the battery would last a long time. And these were somewhat popular. And then the only reason I put this slide up, here's an article, an ad from 1972. And here in the ad, it says, the 405, the amplifier, will retain its stamina for the years ahead. Computer estimated life is 25.7 years. And that was in 1972. So I thought it was kind of funny. We're 25 years almost past that now. And they're still going. Here's Heathkit. Oh, by the way, this link up here, worldradiohistory.com, I call it the best link ever. You can spend months on that site. They have every issue of Popular Electronics, Electronics Illustrated, Broadcast News, all these magazines that I was familiar with when I was a kid are all there, and it's kind of fun to read. So the first product from Heathkit was the lunchbox, the Sixer, the Tour, the Tenor. They weren't called QRP rigs, but they only ran 5 watts of input power. Back then, people did not measure the output power of their transmitter. They measured the input power by measuring the voltage on the final tube and the current, and you could calculate the input power. And then somehow you could get to the output power if you knew what the efficiency was. This was fun in its day, but it's pretty useless these days. Then they came out with the HW7. Really ahead of its time, but very prone to overloading. Covered 40, 20, and 15. $70 it cost back then. Here's the HW8, which was my first QRP rig. This was also direct conversion. And by the way, direct conversion means as you tune down towards a signal, it gets lower and lower in pitch. It goes to the 0 pitch, and then it comes back up the other side, lower to higher pitch. And each side of that 0 beat is the same amplitude. So you get 2 very strong signals for each signal. Today's rigs that have crystal filters in them, you only hear one side of the 0 beat, either the USB side or the LSB side. But direct conversion, you hear both. And that's the disadvantage. But it's got a wide, narrow selectivity switch. So it kind of helped in this, in that case. This covered 80, 40, 20, and 15. Some people used to take out the 80 and make that 30 once we got 30 meters later on. Here's the HW9, their last transceiver. Had lots of promise, but very many design problems in this thing. A lot of instabilities. One of Heathkit's last kits. 1985, I remember this being offered, and then they closed. Now we'll talk about Elecraft. Elecraft is a company founded by N6KR and his partner. Here's the very first article I ever saw from Wayne Burdick, N6KR. He described converting the HW8 to 30 meters. He had a little article here and a very complete components list. So anybody could do this, was very thorough, worked very well. And here's WA3RNC, came out with the Neophyte receiver back in 1988. And it's just 2 little chips. These were actually chips used in cell phones at the time. NE602, LM386. They were from cell phones. This guy, WA3RNC, who went on to found Pentec, which is still around today, although he's retiring. This was a very popular receiver back then for novices and people who just wanted to build something simple. And here's Wayne Burdick. He modified his Neophyte for 15 meters. And this is the second article I ever saw from him. Then in 1990, this is Wayne. Wayne came up with something called the Safari, published in QEX magazine. This had a built-in tuner, built-in receiver incremental tuning, built-in SWR meter, keyer, paddles, AGC, battery. And this was a view into the future for this guy when he founded Elecraft. The circuitry inside this thing is similar to some of the rigs that Elecraft produced. Before we get to Elecraft itself, Wayne was part of this thing called the NorCal, Northern California QRP Club. And they came out, they had a publication called QRPP, I believe it was. And he came out with the NorCal 40A, the SST, super simple transceiver, the Sierra, which used plug-in modules, and something called a 49er. Those were all articles in QRPP magazine. If you join the group's IO page, you can see all the back issues there. Here's Elecraft. First product, the K2. Unbelievable performance at the time. Better than most other transceivers on the market. And it was a kit. After that, they came out with the K1, which I believe Wayne had designed first, but spent all the time introducing the K2 first. Then they came out with the K2 100, the 100-watt version of the K2. Then they came out with the KX1 down here. I was one of the early adopters of the KX1. It was synthesized, one of the first synthesized little QRP rigs, besides the K2, that is. And I just had to have it. I still have one, I'll show you. And then they came out with the T1 antenna tuner. This is in the first 5 years of their being. Here's the K1, I'm sorry, the KX1. Built-in paddle, optional. Covered 3 or 4 bands, depending on the options. Then they came out with first they came out with the KX1, then they came out with the KX3, then they came out with the KX2, which I happen to have now, along with both of these two. The new rig is the KH1 handheld radio, which people are saying is a real serious toy to use and a lot of fun. Here are their big rigs, the K3, which has now been replaced by the K4. Can't say enough good things about these two radios. Here's Yaesu. Back in the 70s, they introduced the FT7, which really was just a 10-watt version of a 100-watt rig they had at the time. Then they came out with the FT817, 817ND, 818ND. Smaller improvements, from one model to another. I heard there's supposed to be a new model now, but I haven't seen it yet. Here's ICOM. First, they came out with this 703, based on their 706, which basically was the ICOM 706 without the 100-watt amplifier. Now they have the ICOM 705, which I think seems to be about the same as the 7300 without the amplifier, more or less. But again, a very popular rig these days, as is the 7300. Kenwood used to have the TS120V, the TS130V, and a few other Vs. That meant they did not have the 100-watt amplifier, just the 10-watt. I don't think they have a QRP rig today. They don't feel they need to address that market. Here are some people I would like to just take a few seconds to mention. First is Dave Benson, K1SWL. The first article he wrote was called the NE4040 QST November 94. I built this. I love that little thing. This guy went on to found Small Wonders Laboratories. And he came out with the SW40, the SW20, and all those rigs. So this became a real big hit in the QRP world. W7EL wrote the optimized QRP transceiver, August 1980. That became a very popular direct conversion rig at that time. Several companies were making kit versions of that. K1BQT used to write a lot of articles for ham radio. They were popular. A lot of people made kits for that. He also designed all the rigs for MFJ, the QRP rigs. Those are his design. Here's WA3RNC again. The neophyte he invented or came out with, Pentec company. Couple of great rigs from him. Wes Haywood, W7ZOI, a very famous QRPer from the 80s, as was W1FB, invented, created, designed the Tuna Tin 2 from QST, May 1976, a long time ago. W8DAZ, he's a silent key as of just a few months ago, but he used to sell the 1-watter and the 5-watter. It's still on his website, Diz kits, QRP kits, or something like that. Very nice little monoband transceivers. I'm going to quickly go over these couple of slides on different QRP rigs out there. Elecraft, ICOM, Yaesu, Zygu is a popular name these days. Here's L&R Precision, the Mountain Topper, Foursquare QRP Club, the Hilltopper. They are now back in stock with these. QRP Kits makes this rig. Pentec used to make this QRP kit. I wish I had gotten one when I could have. They're no longer being sold. QRP Labs, I'm going to say something about them later. Here's the Pentec TR45. QRP Labs. Discovery. Here's some other rigs that are out there now. This is RG01. It's a Bulgarian ham, LZ1JR. Made this little radio. It's a 50-watt radio, all band. Very nice little thing. A little bit on the high side, expense-wise, but it's very nice. Here's the MFJ radios, designed by K1BQT. Breadboard radio, pastimeprojects.com, QRP Me. Very nice little things to build if you want to build a QRP kit. Here's some QRP paddles. I like to use a dual lever paddle because I like to use iambic mode B keying. It's called squeeze keying. Some people like single lever paddles. Whatever floats your boat, basically. Some of these paddles are kind of fun. Some are really good. This Vibraplex Code Warrior, I have one of those right in front of me. It's a very nice, solid paddle. You can make your own paddles if you'd like. There are some designs out there. Here's the K9LU Bulldog, This was written up in CQ magazine. So there's an article on how to build this from a binder clip. Here's K4IBZ, tweezer paddle. This guy, I think I read he has 65 different rigs that he rotates and uses each one of them. That's a lot of storage. Here's some accessories that you might want to carry around with you, unless you buy a rig like the KX2 that has most of this built in. Keyer, antenna tuner, low pass filter or band pass filter in this case, called the APF, audio peak filter, speaker, something that'll tell you what the amp hours is, which is a very unusual readout for a radio, but the KX2 has that, and you can buy one of these little adapters and measure amp hours. That's a measure of how long the battery's going to last. This is the battery slide. I'm just going to say that in the old days, not that long ago, we used sealed lead acid batteries, 2 volts per cell, 6 cells gives you 12 volts. These are heavy but dependable. If you have one of these, you should use the right charger. In this case, the battery tender is one of the recommended ones. Something that'll be, it's called a 3-state charger, heavy current, then light current, then maintenance current, so you don't overcharge the thing. Lithium ion or lithium iron phosphate, those are the batteries du jour. There's all different amp hours. I use this company called bioennopower.com. You can go there and look at all the things they offer. Just get the charger that goes with that particular battery, and you'll be very happy out there in the field. NIMH, used in the KX3, still sold, 1.2 volts per cell. I don't like these at all anymore. These are basically old-fashioned, in my opinion. There must be a better way, but there's no lithium iron phosphate drop-in for the ones used in the KX3. Then we have the alkaline batteries. The only difference between AAA, AA, C, and D is how many amp hours you can pull out of that thing. AAA is 1, AA is 2, C is 6, D is 11. So that'll give you an idea of approximately how long the battery will last. And of course, these are not rechargeable. Here's a little blurb on lithium iron phosphate. I borrowed from K4SWL. It just says that these are a little more expensive, but they're very good. And this is the power, the battery most people use today. Just a couple of quick words on power supplies. There's 2 kinds, switches and analog. Switches are small, light, but generate RFI. Analog, big, heavy, but no RFI. I'm going to show you an example of RFI in a second. This is the Astron that I have, RS35M. Big, hulky thing, but it provides clean 13.8 volts, and it'll last forever. Mine's been going since 2008, no problems. Other than I had to replace this front panel switch a couple of times. Here's a typical switcher. And something very interesting about this power supply, if you can see this, on the front panel is a little control called shifter. And this particular power supply manufacturer really understood that switching power supplies, by their very nature, generate noise. But it's at certain frequencies, and the harmonics of frequencies based on what the switching frequency is in this thing. And you can tune the switching frequency in this thing up or down a little bit. So if you're hearing it, you're trying to work a DX station, you hear the noise from the power supply, you can shift it a little bit up or down. I thought that was very interesting. Here's an example of something I found accidentally in my own shack. I came down to my shack, turned on 20 meters, and the noise floor was just a little above S5. And I thought, I don't hear any signals. Must be poor band conditions. Accidentally, I unplugged the printer. Not accidentally, but I just randomly unplugged the printer. I was moving it around, I think. And all of a sudden, I looked over at the receiver. The noise floor had dropped to S3. And here were these little signals peaking up almost to S5. So in the printer on condition, I never heard those signals. In the printer off condition, there they were. And I actually did work those two particular stations. For QRP, this is a popular power supply, proaudioengineering.com. Very low RFI power supply. QRP kit, QRP guys is out there. I bought a lot of things from these people, including the end-fed half-wave little matching transformer. Here's QRPkits.com. Same thing. They have all kinds of neat little things to buy and to build and buy, or buy and build. Foursquare, QRP.com. All kinds of things. Here's a regenerative receiver, a blast from the past, basically, using a couple of transistors. That might be my next purchase. I don't know yet. QRP Labs, this guy, Hans, has done so much for the ham radio community, in my opinion. He makes these very high quality little radio transceivers, very low cost. This QCX Mini CW transceiver down here is only $55. And you have to build it, of course, but when you finish it and you get it working and things, that's a very high quality 5-watt QRP rig. Built-in keyer, built-in test equipment. Very nice. Soda Beams. I'd like to buy everything from the website of Soda Beams. They make all kinds of different antennas, little antenna traps, little winders for random wire antennas or halfway end-fed half waves. Poles they make, various linked antennas. Here's the QRP calling frequencies. If you just want to get on the air and say, I'm going to work some QRPers today, you might want to go to one of these frequencies, 20 meters, 14.060. Or you can just get on the air and use one of the frequencies you normally operate on. Last slide. This is a great time for QRP. There's so many different fun and efficient rigs out there. Batteries are small and light thanks to the new technology. And the solar peak is coming. I've spent a lot of time recently on 10 meters and 12 meters. Last night I was sitting here listening to one of my QRP rigs on 10 meters. Japan, there was a JA8 station, very loud, just sitting there calling CQ. You can do CW or SSB. A lot of rigs do both. Have fun. That's what this hobby is all about. So I'm going to stop sharing. And that is my presentation. I think I made it almost in time. Sorry if it was a little rushed, but again, you can download it and take a look at it at your leisure if you like. I have so many slides that I have to split it into 2 presentations to make it fit in a PDF file. So there's part 1, part 2, and then the handout. But it's all there. So now I think we're at the question and answer time, if there is any.
All right, does anybody have any questions for John?
What was your website again? Well, somebody else can get ready to ask a question.
It's not my website, it's just qrz.com, and you look at my call, W2XS.
Okay.
John,
Yes,
what's the best QRP bands? One for the day and for at night.
in my opinion,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of debate about this, but in my opinion, if you're only gonna have one band, make it 40 meters.
40.
If you're gonna have two bands, make it 40 and 20.
Uh-huh.
For two reasons. One, you could buy a build a 40-meter end-fed half wave that'll also work on 20. And if you look at the handout, I describe the end-fed half wave that I built. I belong to the Long Island CW Club. A couple of years ago, we had something called a build-a-thon, and we thought, hey, let's make an end-fed half wave antenna. And so you had a 66-foot piece of wire, one of those QRP guys, 49-to-1 transformers, and it worked great on 40 and 20. If you have three bands, I would recommend 40, 30, and 20. Those are all nice little bands of the QRP work.
And I have another question. As far as QRP, I think I saw in the slide when you first started, it was 1 watt to 5 watts. That's like for CW, is that correct?
Well, the definition of QRP, and I looked this up yesterday, is kind of standardized to be operating with 5 watts or under. I think that applies to SSB also. If you buy that Yaesu FT817 or 818, that was a 5-watt rig on both CW and sideband. But of course, more power helps when you're out in the field, especially if you don't have such a great antenna. If you're trying to use one of these loaded whip antennas and you're doing 5 watts, you might only be actually radiating 1 or 2 watts because of the poor efficiency. A lot of people who do POTA now, Parks on the Air, use their 100-watt rigs. Take that out and some giant battery and operate for a couple of hours on a picnic bench somewhere.
Are there any other questions? What part of Long Island are you in, John?
I'm in Northport, 50 miles east of the Big Apple.
Okay, we've got some people here who know where you are.
Been here a long time.
Any other questions? All right. Sounds like you did a good job. There was just a couple questions. And you said your presentation's online at qrp.com? Call sign? Or qrz.com, I'm sorry.
qrz.com. W2XS.
Okay, thank you again, John, very much for sharing your knowledge with us on QRP. And it's always nice weather down here, so we do get outside a lot. We just don't have any mountains to get those views you were showing.
No, but I actually worked a husband and wife team. They were doing POTA at some beach in Florida, I forget exactly where. And so I worked them. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, they sent me a video of me working them. So that was kind of fun. And they were sitting on a beach, you know, with their flip-flops on, enjoying the warmth.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, and we
My
appreciate it.
pleasure.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. Michael is pulling tickets. So first ticket, your choice between the ground ribbon or the grounding and binding book, or of course, power poles. The first one, last 4 digits, 7818. 7818. Your choice. Next one. Everybody just groaned when you took those. 7805. 7805. Come on up. And last one, last ticket. 7785. 77. Draw again. Oh, we did, just in case. All right. 7785 says draw again. So we drew 7792. 7792. Your book. Don't take my soda. I need that one. Take the book. All right. Appreciate everybody coming out this evening. A couple things real quick. Just want to remind you about the Christmas party. We do hope to see everybody there. It is a grand old time. Everybody enjoys it. We also want to sit there and remind you that there is no meeting next month. All right. There is a test session in this room, but there is no meeting. And our next meeting will be January 8th in this room. So, because other than the Christmas party, we won't see you for a while. So if we don't see you at the Christmas party, Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving. Well, I'm sorry. Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and then Happy New Year. We'll see you next year.